The storm had raged all morning, but nothing compared to the storm inside Nathan Cole's heart, the day he watched his world fall apart. He was the kind of man who built an empire with iron discipline, sleepless nights, and a heart locked behind walls no one dared approach. But all of that changed the morning his little girl, 7-year-old Harper, was pulled from the twisted metal of a highway accident by a stranger whose name he didn't even catch. The memory of Harper crying while a woman knelt beside her, steady, brave, whispering comfort, was burned into Nathan's soul. The paramedics arrived seconds later, and in the chaos, that woman disappeared. And from that day on, Nathan swore he'd never let anyone close enough to hurt him again, or save him again. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and miracles that show up when we least expect them, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Nathan lived in Chicago but worked mostly from the coal industry's headquarters in Minneapolis. His schedule was rigid, predictable, deliberately lifeless. Work kept him numb. Work kept him safe. Yet no matter how many late-night board meetings he sat through, how many quarterly reports he signed, he could never shake the image of that unknown woman bending over Harper, shielding her from the rain with her own jacket. Harper would sometimes ask about her, describing her soft brown hair and gentle voice. Nathan always replied with quiet reassurance, though a hidden ache remained each time he admitted he had no idea who she was. His friends worried about him, the tightness around his smile, the exhaustion in his eyes, the loneliness he no longer bothered to hide. They tried everything: vacations, dinners, charity fundraisers, even setting him up on blind dates he never attended. They failed every time. But Harper noticed too, sensing the heaviness in her father's presence, the way he looked at people like they were ghosts passing by. Nathan tried to be cheerful for her sake, but grief had carved itself deep into him since losing Harper's mother 2 years earlier. He told himself love was a luxury he no longer had room for. Loving once had taken everything from him. Loving again felt like inviting disaster. One evening, on a rare break from his office, Nathan met his 2 closest friends, Mark and Joshua, at a quiet Chicago steakhouse. The dim lights reflected in the dark windows and a soft jazz track hummed through the speakers. They spoke about business, parenting, life, everything except the emptiness they all sensed in Nathan. Finally, Mark looked him straight in the eye and said they had one last request. One more blind date. One more chance for Nathan to simply breathe outside the weight of his past. Nathan refused instantly. His automatic reaction was to guard himself. But then Harper's face flashed in his mind, her hopeful smile, her small hands tugging on his sleeve, begging him to be happy again. With a sigh that felt like surrender, Nathan agreed to one final date, but only to silence his friends once and for all. The date was scheduled at a quiet garden cafe in downtown Chicago. The evening air was cool, scented with blossoming jasmine and city breeze, and tiny lights wrapped around the patio trees glowed softly. Nathan arrived early and chose a corner table near a small fountain, where water trickled with calming rhythm. He waited with low expectations and an even lower willingness to participate. Minutes passed. He turned his watch. He considered leaving, but then a woman approached the table, slightly nervous, but composed, her posture gentle yet strong. Her hair framed her face in soft waves, and she carried a warmth that immediately shifted the energy around her. Her name was Alyssa Hart, and without realizing it, she had already changed his life once. But neither of them knew who the other was. Not yet. They exchanged small talk at first, but Nathan found himself unexpectedly drawn into her presence. There was something familiar in the way she listened, not just hearing words but understanding emotions underneath them. Something grounding in the way she spoke about her work as a nursing student, her volunteer time at shelters, her love for children. She wasn't trying to impress him. She wasn't intimidated by his title. She was simply genuine, a rarity in Nathan's world of sharp suits, sharp voices, and sharp expectations. As Alyssa talked about her dreams, Nathan felt a softness creep into him that he hadn't felt in years, like a long-forgotten door inside him had cracked open. The evening felt peaceful, real, almost like fate had paused the world for the two of them. But then, something happened. Alyssa noticed a small bracelet on Nathan's wrist, the same one Harper had made for him out of colorful beads and given to him after the car accident. Alyssa's eyes widened almost imperceptibly. She blinked, looked down, then looked up at him again. Nathan felt his heartbeat shift, sensing something in her gaze, and in the quiet that followed, the truth he never expected surfaced. Alyssa was the woman who saved Harper. She had recognized Nathan the moment she saw the bracelet. She remembered Harper clutching the same one as she cried in Alyssa's arms that rainy morning. Alyssa had wanted to stay that day, but paramedics had insisted she step aside, and with the chaos, she slipped away without exchanging names. She never expected to see Harper again, let alone sit across from her father on a blind date. Alyssa debated telling him the truth, unsure whether it would overwhelm him or create pressure he didn't need. But fate had brought them here, and she believed some truths were meant to be spoken. So she told him gently that she had been there the morning of the accident. She described Harper's bravery, her tiny hands squeezing Alyssa's, as she whispered that it would all be okay. She spoke of the fear, the rain, the sirens, and the relief of knowing. Harper survived. Nathan froze, his breath caught, 1,000 memories flooded back. He stared at Alyssa with disbelief as the woman he had been searching for without knowing suddenly sat inches away, real and present and human. Gratitude rose inside him like a tide that nearly broke him. He felt emotions he had locked away shatter into pieces, grief, relief, awe, and something deeper, warmer, blooming through the cracks. They talked for hours, the night growing colder while the space between them grew warmer. Nathan felt his guard slipping, and he hated how good the vulnerability felt. Alyssa felt something too, a pull toward a man whose brokenness didn't make him weak, but profoundly human. She saw the father in him, the protector, the man who tried to rebuild himself for his daughter's sake. And Nathan saw in Alyssa the kindness he had stopped believing existed. But fear still lingered. Nathan worried that opening his heart again would betray the memory of Harper's mother or risk another heartbreak he couldn't survive. Alyssa sensed the hesitation behind his smiles, the tremble in his voice whenever emotions got too close. She didn't push. She simply stood by him, offering space, understanding, and a gentle presence he found harder and harder to walk away from. Days passed. Weeks. Nathan found himself thinking about Alyssa constantly. Her laugh, her strength, the way she looked at him without demanding anything. Harper adored her instantly when they met. The little girl clung to Alyssa like she was someone she'd known forever. And maybe in some way she had. Slowly, Nathan healed. Slowly, Alyssa became part of their lives. First as a friend, then as something unnamed but undeniable. Nathan's friends noticed the change, the measured smile returning to his face, the way his shoulders relaxed, the renewed light in his eyes. He was still cautious, still scarred, but he was alive in a way he hadn't been in years. Yet the turning point arrived during a quiet evening at a lakeside park in Wisconsin, where Nathan and Alyssa took Harper for a picnic. The sunset cast warm colors over the lake, and Harper played near the edge, giggling as waves splashed her ankles. Nathan watched her, his heart full, but when he turned to Alyssa, he felt another realization settle deeply within him. He wasn't just grateful for her, he cared for her, truly, profoundly, and for the first time, he wasn't afraid. That night, as Harper slept in the back seat on the drive home, Nathan whispered a quiet truth into the dark car that Alyssa had given him something he thought he'd buried forever. Hope. Alyssa didn't answer at first, but her hand found his, and that said more than any words could. Their relationship blossomed naturally after that night. They didn't rush anything. They didn't force promises. They simply chose each other, a little more every day. And through it all, Harper beamed like she had discovered her own miracle. Months later, standing on the rooftop of his Chicago penthouse with city lights glowing below, Nathan realized he had broken the vow he once clung to like armor. He had loved again. Not because he searched for love, but because love had found him in the form of the woman who saved his daughter. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support means more than you know. Before I end the story, special request, comment below, second chances are real. And with that, Nathan Cole's journey became a reminder that sometimes the heart heals not through time alone, but through the unexpected kindness of a stranger who was meant to become family.